with On the Record with Kevin and Tiffany, or Tiffany and Kevin, on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, home of conservative talk radio. And we are back. Tiffany, it's been a while since we've been in the studio, girl.
Yes, I see you back.
Yeah, you the one been
coming
absent.
Up in here talking trash.
Yeah, he the one been in FCC. What you call it? He's the one been absent.
That's right. He's been MIA, not us.
Yeah.
We've been holding it down. We're here. We're talking to the people, trying to keep everybody up, give them some hope.
I've been working in the background.
Working in the background. Is that what they call it when you sleep in?
You got you in that shit. Got you that cooking breakfast, send the kids off packing lunch.
Yeah, she thought I'm sleeping
paper bag lunches.
I'm being funny. He does. He has been working vigorously. Well, let's talk about what you've been working on, which is the nation's first genetic testing done by a patient-led community organization. Texas Kidney Foundation held on October 5th the first patient-led genetic testing event. And it's an educational screening event. People really don't understand genetics or precision medicine. And so we brought a test that tests for 385 rare genetic alleles. Specifically, we were looking for APOL1 mediated kidney disease, which is the rare kidney disease that I have, and I've lost 16 family members too. So we wanted to bring that disease to the forefront.
Yeah.
And look for it.
Yeah, and when you're designing these things, there's a lot, because with genetics is complicated, and it's even more complicated to explain it to people who don't have a background. And the little bit that I know of, right? So I always tell people, hey, just break it down. Talk to me like I am a kindergartner, right? And you're trying to convince me of this. And if they just put it in very simple forms, right? And unfortunately, a lot of times when you're with a lot of scientists, they want to tell you all the minutia, and in their brains, it's not the minutia, but it's the minutia. And so you really work on people explaining it to people.
And that's really what took the longest was getting the scientists to speak regular English so that all of the people that we were working with could understand it. And it took us probably just working out the workflow was about 18 months, right?
Yeah, and then not just the workflow is important, but also the story flow, right? Because a lot of times, not a lot of times, all the time, they want to just give you facts and figures. Well, most people don't really care about facts and figures. They want to know, how does it relate to me, and what's the story? How do you incorporate that? And so we have a process in which we incorporate that, and we make it about the individual in front of us. It takes a little bit longer, but people walk away going like, oh yeah, okay, I understand why it's important. You don't have to understand all the details of it, right? You just need to know, why is this important, and
what does it mean to me and my health?
What does it mean to me, and what do I do about it? And so that's the point. And
so we had to work all of that out, and we did. And part of the process, we had a nephrologist come in, and that was Dr. Don Wesson, who we've had on this show before. And he's our chief medical advisor. We recruited him specifically because of his work in community settings, doing screening.
Yeah, he's sort of like
screenings in general, health screening.
He's sort of like the OG of all this, right? So I forget how old he is, but he's
72.
Yeah, he's 72.
He doesn't look like it, but he's 72.
A while, and so he did a lot of the first in community stuff.
He's been doing this for 50 years. He's been doing it. He graduated from medical school.
Why are you gonna be putting his age out like that?
Hey, he puts it out there. He already put it out there. I didn't put it out there, just for the record, guys. I didn't put it out there. He did. He's not ashamed of his age and wisdom, but he graduated from medical school like when I was 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
So he's been, and his entire career,
Reg
his
is
whole
like
life
8,
is dedicated.
9?
I know. Yeah, like we were babies. We were just running around.
Yeah, I know. Dr. Weston, he went to see Gone with the Wind in the theater.
I'm gonna play that back for him so he can hear it.
Man. So I I'm the dude that speak for the layman people, the people that don't understand the regular, the scientific stuff. It's like, hey, only thing the people know when you say 380 genetic gene tests, you feel like, if I was a person, I go to some event like that, I would say, hey, man, I got checked for everything. So it's like, man, they did 308. All my genes, everything is cool. So it's time.
Well, the reason why, what made us go down that road is that, as Reg knows this, but I'll say it here, when I first was called into this job, because I really do believe God brought me to this space, I thought there was something genetic happening to my family. I thought my family was going through something genetic, but I didn't. Nobody had anything that they could tell me about genes except for polycystic kidney disease. They were like, yeah, there's a genetic kidney disease, but it's polycystic kidney disease, and that's not what you have. And I was like, there have to be other genetic kidney diseases, but nobody really knew that much about it. And so I flew to DC and started talking to people at the National Institutes of Health and people and scientists. I went to the Kidney Precision Medicine Project, and that was where I found out about APOL1 mediated kidney disease, and it didn't have that name yet. It was just that there was a genetic allele, APOL1, and so it was only discovered in 2010. So that genetic allele was only 7 years old when I came into this. So my disease was only 7 years old, which meant that there was no molecule built. There were no therapeutics. In order to build a medicine, medicines are built on top of a molecule. So they build the molecule first, and then they build the medicines from the molecule.
All right, girl, you just put half the audience to sleep, because I know.
I'm just telling you. I'm saying this because it took. For us to be at the stage where we're testing for it, there was no test then. So when we walked in the door, there was no test. And that's why I say that God brought us into it, because there was no test. The test was developed in 2020. It wasn't brought to the marketplace until 2020. And we just brought it to the general public for free in 2024. Yeah,
and as a patient organization, and that's important.
Yeah,
as a
patient-led organization.
Because what I've found since I've been working here with the foundation, with you guys and being on the board, is that people are self-focused. So when doctors talk about communication, they talk about it in terms they understand. And most of us were just like, what the hell did he just say? I don't understand anything he just told me. Yeah. That's oftentimes, I'm serious. Yeah. That's oftentimes what we get when we do screenings in neighborhoods. So people will say, hey, my doctor told me this, and this. And
what does that mean?
What does that mean? And so when we walk them through in layman language, say this is what that means, and we give them a list of questions to go back and follow and ask questions, and then they often come back and they'll say, hey, I took those questions and I asked them to the doctor and they really made sense to me, right? And so that's what we're doing. So with the genetic
So how did we get to that, Mr. Smith?
So we got through that because I'm just an awesome kind of guy. That's how we got to that. No, my background is I spent 12 years working with Merrill Lynch in operations and customer service. So I am a bit of an expert on how to acquire and retain clients. Right? That's what I do. Well, once we get you as a client, we retain you. You're not leaving. We got you, right? We're going to make sure. I'm serious. So we're going to make sure in terms of how we frame things, on how we communicate, on how we talk to you. We're going to be doing all of those things that are going to maintain the relationship. And you're going to want to stay, and you're going to say, we're the most awesome people, even if there's a problem and you're mad at us, right? And so even if you're highly upset with us, we're going to talk it through and we're going to work that out. I'm actually good at that, believe it or not, Tiffany.
Oh yes, he's excellent at that.
So that's one of the things that I'm good at is finding and getting clients and then maintaining those client relationships. That's what I got paid to do at Merrill Lynch. And so that's the number one thing. And then also something that I'm really, really good at, right? Not to brag on myself, humble brag, is that I'm also good at figuring out processes and procedures and developing relationships. And I know I've said this a lot on the show, but my main task when I came as a consultant here and on the board was to figure out how things worked at screenings, like, because people tell you on the board we come up with all kind of stupid ideas, right? We go, we should do this and we should do that,
because they're not there.
Right? And you're like, that's not gonna work, right? And then after about 6-7 months there, I figured out how things actually worked. And then also in terms of relationships, like who are the relationships that we should have with, and what organizations are they, right? Are there, right? Because a lot of times you'll say, hey, Tiffany is the lead over at Texas Kidney Foundation. Yeah, but who else is on her team, and what do they know? Because you might want to influence Tiffany, right? But you probably have a better influence if you know the people on her team. You can reach out to those individuals, communicate the logistics to them, and then they can translate that for Tiffany.
So I have a question for you, because I want to get to what it was that you came to the table with, because I would say that one of the things you came to the table with is a view of the customer service relationship that healthcare presents.
Yeah, healthcare is a monopoly. It is, right? It's a monopoly, right? You either go to this physician or you're going to have problems. So it's a monopoly. And I don't know if they have verbally believed this or not, but they act like it. They act hey, you don't have any options.
And so that results in what kind of customer service?
Well, that at the screenings, okay, nurses, I'm about to take y'all out and give y'all a few smacks, right? Nurses, for the most part, healthcare professionals, they are professionals, right? They want to get you in and get you out. And that's not the point of our educational screenings. Our educational screenings are to educate you about what the numbers mean for you and how you need to track those, so that the next time when you go back to your physician, you'll be able to ask intelligent questions, and you'll be able to ask, hey, what about this and what about that? And you'll have our goal is to give you a base knowledge, so that you can, out of that base knowledge, you can now ask questions. So like Reg, it's sort of like with you, right? With comedy, you know that there's a base level of things you got to have in a good joke. You got to have a set of things. If you have those set of things in a good joke, it's always going to come off well, right? And it's the same thing with knowledge. If you have most diseases are set up like this. They're always staged. There's a stage 1 through whatever the number is, right? You see that with cancer. You see that with liver disease. Same thing with kidney disease. It's staged. There's a stage 1 through 5. And in kidney disease, the lower that number goes, right, it's a bad situation, right? So you start losing more kidney function, right? So that's 1 through 5. So there's a cause. And then there's always going to be some degree of damage. They're going to measure that in some way.
But let's go back to the customer service part.
And so the part with the customer service part is you're the customer and I'm here to serve you. And most people in the healthcare industry, they think that is somehow weak or somehow they lose power. You're not weak and you don't lose power. What you're trying to do is help this person maintain their health, not just treat their health. And that's the view there. Is that where we're going?
Well, that's what I was asking you, what you came to the table with on that. You gave us a lot of information, so thank you. But
well, I know one thing, man, dealing with you guys, the time that I've been dealing with you, it's crazy, because I remember sitting in college and looking in classes, math class, whatever lecture halls we used to be in, like psychology, those are the bigger classes. And, teachers, the professor be speaking, and it's not clicking, right? But you guys made it so simple. It's like when you was just getting ready to say something, it's like I already know in my head, okay, he finna talk about this. He finna talk about the numbers. He finna talk about it. It feels so good to know you feel smart now. It's like I already know. I anticipate what you're gonna say just by the words that you're saying. So it's like, and that's the cool thing about it, man. I like how you guys just break everything down so simple. It's not like you sitting in the class and it take you a while to comprehend what's going on. I felt kind of smart at that moment right now when you said about the numbers. I was like, man, because in my head I was already thinking that I was already ahead of you.
Yeah,
I just threw that out there.
And that is the whole point in doing what we're doing. When he came in, he was coming in with that customer service background. Mm-hmm. He was coming in having looked at the perspective of, okay, what are we doing here, and who's engaged with the organization? And one of the things he then went back and evaluated was, who should we be engaged with?
Yeah.
Okay, who's engaged?
Yeah.
But who should we be engaged with? And that's when community health workers came into play.
Yeah, community health workers are some of the most awesome people on the planet, from my view, because they are really empathetic and customer centered, right? And they're constantly thinking of ways to help people, right? Like, okay, you got this situation going on, and we know the end point you need to be at, but how do we get you there, right? And so there's a lot of that, and so there's a lot of I'm not going. This is like they're wheeling and dealing, right, and figuring out how do we get them there. Hey, I know someone who knows this person, and we're helping them navigate the system.
They're a great connection to resources, because that's really a lot of what their training is. It's in helping them to helping people to locate resources
and understand the systems that they're operating in.
Yes, and so whereas that used to be, what was done with social workers. Oh, that used to be only social workers who did that. Social workers are still doing that. It's just that when you look at the healthcare system, social workers and nurses are really overburdened right now. You've got a shortage of social workers, a shortage of nurses. They're being asked to work longer hours, more cases, and do things that they just don't have the bandwidth to do. So community health workers are, in our situation, a wonderful bridge to many of the social workers, nurses, and other healthcare professionals that we deal with. We can handle a lot of resource placement and resource connection for our constituents without overburdening those social workers and nurses that we're working with.
You said that really nice. So that is, and then understanding the system, because oftentimes with nurses and y'all gonna send me hate mail, I don't care. With nurses and social workers, they are invested in the system to keep the system going, right? And they know what their particular jobs and tasks are. They got a caseload of however many they have on their caseload.
Usually too many.
Yeah, and nurses, they're trying to keep people alive, right? So their immediate goal is, I got to keep you alive, man. Yeah. Whereas, in a social worker, I got to get you to the right resource over here. And then with the community health worker, right? And I identify with that because you're navigating the system. Like, how do I get, the doctor said you needed this, this, and this. Okay. You're looking at, okay, you need that, but what is the outcome they're trying to get you? And can that medicine you have is pretty pricey. Can we get a substitute? Can we break it up, and that medication is made up of 2 or 3 medicines? Can we get those medicines broken up into their individual pieces, and we get the price down cheaper, right?
Yes.
I'm navigating through this situation with the insurance, right? How can we, it's like, what's the end goal? The end goal is this particular treatment. How do I help you navigate you through that? So that's often the situations we're at.
He really helped us define what our role was, because when I walked in the door, we
by the way, I didn't pay her any money for this. This is totally free. I'm shocked by her.
And I paid him in hugs and kisses. So that was that's all I had to give. That's all I had to give. But when he came into this, he helped us define our role, because a lot of things, you can really, really do great good for the community when you understand your role. Because our team didn't understand our role. We thought we were supposed to be
everything to everybody.
We kept hearing, we were trying to be everything to everybody. We had scholarships, and we were trying to provide continuum of care. No, none of those. First of all, you can either be
scholarship organization or patient advocacy
or a patient advocacy organization. So we chose patient advocacy and got rid of a lot of things so that we could focus. But we also defined, okay, who should be handling continuum of care? Because what we should be and what we are is a bridge. We are a bridge between the patient and resources. So that could be a practitioner, that could be an entity that they need to access in order to get a practitioner, whatever that may be. It could be a provider, whatever the resource is that the individual in front of us needs.
Okay, I want to say something that's going to be, and it's the model that I use in my head. I see this thing as just one big Merrill Lynch, right? One big Merrill Lynch, Bank of America.
Well, of course, you love Merrill, so that's why.
I got a lot of good training from them, right? And so
I see Merrill Lynch, y'all always getting plugged on this show.
I see it as, let's say if Reggie's our client, right? And so he's our client, and he has certain, whatever his particular needs are. Let's say one day he decides he wants to buy a jet, right?
Now you trying to sway Reg over to Merle. What you doing?
Say he wants to buy a jet, right? He wants to buy the Cessna jet. And so he and his financial advisor sit down with him. And so we start connecting him with all the resources that we have for him to buy a jet. His goal is a jet. He don't want to give up any of his assets. So we're going to figure that part of it out. And so our goal is to connect him and navigate that. And you would be surprised. Like, let's say I got the jet. It's going to be the Cessna. I want it black. He got all the colors he wants. And so we're moving him down that process, right? And somewhere, some guy in the back office over in, I don't know, in lending decides, hey, Reggie, this is 60 days. We need to have this at 55 days, no longer than 55 days. And so the FA is going to come to me and go, hey, my client, he wants to get this jet, and they're giving me grief about 5 days, right? So then my job is to come in and start navigating in the background of the corporate enterprise in order to get Reggie his jet that we over by 5 days. So you got to figure out, is this a legal situation, that this rule that says it has to be less than 60 days or whatever the rule is it legal, right? Is that something where we have to comply with some legal bureaucracy, or is that something that's internal? Right. So we go through all of that, and we're navigating, and I'm helping you navigate all of that. So by the time we get to Reg all Reg knows is on this day he got his jet.
And you gave Reg white glove service.
We gave you white glove service. So that's the mindset that I have. And so when we're dealing with people in the community, and we're doing screenings, is that some people you got to give them a little bit of a touch up. And by touch up, I mean give them the business.
Okay, can you?
But also what we do is
not focus on your touch up.
We're giving people service, and we're treating people like we would a relative, right?
That's
a relative that we like.
And that was one of the first things that we said, and that he said is, when people come in, you got to look them in the eye and treat them like you would want them to treat your grandmother.
Yeah, and one of the things that they do,
treat them like that. And if you can't do that day, if you're just having a day where you can't do that day, don't come that day. Yeah, you don't need to be there. Call us.
Yeah.
But you're going to come in and be your best and give them your best. Yeah. Every day.
And so, and the other thing that I find just annoying is that people don't treat you like you're a parent or a loved one, and give you the information. They can explain this information, right?
Stop and explain.
I have a friend who was trying to talk me into, who was presenting genetic testing to me, right? And he was giving me on and everything. And at the end, I said, "That sucked, dude. You're horrible at this. Let me give you some ways to frame this.
Show him.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to frame this, right? And frame this in the right way. Everybody will say yes to it. You're framing it as, hey, I could be destined if I find it out. I'm gonna.
You probably going down, girl.
Going down.
That's the way. That's the way he said it, and it was like.
It's like no. So you.
This is a terrible delivery.
So the reason we want to include genetics as part of our screening is that gives people a really good base to say, okay, I know this is genetic or not genetic. If it turns out there's something going on genetic, now you know how to track. Whenever you get your blood work, I always want these two tests. I always want these two tests so you can see if anything is happening.
And
so
there are breakthroughs, therapeutics.
So if you have a specific genetic thing and you see your numbers going down, they can do, what is it called, tailored or
precision medicine.
Precision medicine, right, to address your specific issue.
It's amazing what can be done, but you have to know that something needs to be done in order for you to take action.
That's awesome, Tiffany. And we'll be right back on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, home of Conservative Talk Radio.